Hundreds of Auckland homeowners could be forced to seek new resource consents after an admission by the Auckland Council that it misinterpreted its own rules. The council says 430 consents are involved. They were granted in the 12 months after December 2016 in suburbs like Grey Lynn and Ponsonby, where special character rules apply. The council's offering to cover the cost of getting new consents, but a more expensive cost could be compensation for those who've had to cease building work as a result of this. Our reporter Sarah Robson explains.
The wooden villas and bungalows that line the streets of some of Auckland's oldest leafy suburbs, Ponsonby, Grey Lynn, Devonport, are deemed by many to be iconic. And their heritage value is recognised by the fact that special rules apply when homeowners apply for resource consent to make alterations and additions to their properties. But it's those special rules that have landed the Auckland Council in trouble. It's contacting 430 resource consent holders to tell them that they need to get new consents. That's because the Environment Court has disagreed with how the council was applying the extra rules triggered in special character areas. The court said those rules shouldn't take precedence over the underlying zone rules, and both sets of rules should apply when resource consent applications are considered. The council's general manager for resource consents, Ian Smallburn, says there are some understandably disgruntled people out there.
They are upset, and rightfully so, and obviously we don't wish that upon them, but we'll work with them to hopefully a decent outcome.
Ian Smallburn says for some people it'll take just a couple of days to get a new resource consent, and the council is prepared to cover the cost. But if the property owners don't get a new consent, Mr Smallburn says they could be at risk of legal challenges. And he admits some people may have to make changes to their plans to comply with the new rules. There are also 4 or 5 property owners who already have builders on site who have been told to stop work until the problem is sorted out. Mr Smallburn says compensation could be considered for those who could be hit with extra costs, but he won't say how much. But for people like Charlie Bailey, the director of local company Salamander Build, any building delays could cause headaches. He says his company does a lot of renovation and alteration work in the Grey Lynn and Ponsonby area.
It's a nightmare, really. You know, you've got everything planned. It's really hard to book in your subbies, and you've got workers that, you know, work for you. Sometimes you've got to lay them off, or you've got to try and pull other jobs forward. I mean, yeah, it's a bit of a nightmare. I just don't understand how they could get it so wrong, to be honest.
And Charlie Bailey is worried that some of the work he's got coming up could be caught up in the consent bungle.
We've got another 2 jobs coming up in there, and we've also got one going on at the moment that's had a bit of a stop works to it due to the heritage factor. And we've had to actually stop, and the job's been delayed. So we're hoping to kick that back off in the next sort of week or 2. But, I mean, it's still in the council. We're unsure what's going to go on, really.
Nikki McIndoe, who is an expert in environment and planning law, says the problems show how complicated Auckland's planning rules are. And she says it's a hassle for those affected by it.
They've done their best to get the resource consents to authorise works which they are undertaking on their properties. You know, through no fault of their own, will find themselves in a situation where they now need to go back and patch up the situation to ensure that they're not in breach.
The Auckland Council says it's looking to change its planning rules to resolve the issues, but that could take at least a year. Mō te hōtaka o te ahi, ko Sarah Robson, aho.